The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws, and those that have final removal orders.
My audience is predominantly Latino, so they kind of every day say they're fearful because a lot of people have been targeted based on their skin color, not necessarily.
That is not true. And so that has been another false narrative that has been put out there in the media that I absolutely want to throw back at you and say that is absolutely false, and don't you dare ever say that again.
That was Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem at a press conference on Thursday. People of all backgrounds and from different communities are targeted by ICE. But we've seen over and over again that Latino immigrants are disproportionately singled out. The Trump administration is now using personal data to target more people through ICE. The administration turning over lists of Medicaid recipients to the agency, which includes addresses. This obviously puts a lot of people at risk. Meanwhile, ICE is also trying to rehire retired staff to fill up 10,000 job openings that are meant to further Trump's immigration crackdown. Joining us now, Veronica Cardenas, a former ICE prosecutor who founded Humanigration, a platform that supports immigration attorneys. So you have extensive experience in this space. You were an ICE prosecutor. Take us through the timeline here. When in your career did you start to notice these disturbing changes in the ways that the system operated? And where would you say we are right now?
So I started in 2010 right out of law school with Homeland Security. At that time, Obama was the president, and I didn't really start to feel the drastic changes until Trump came into office the first time. Policy changes were coming through every day. We learned these through the media a lot of times, sometimes at staff hearings, staff meetings. And the thing that was very, that I had a lot of issues with was the way that people were being treated. We can have immigration laws, but we don't need to put children in cages at that time. Children were dying. CBP officers weren't giving medical care that people needed as they were crossing through the borders. And so that was the time where I started to have just the morality of what I was doing, the laws that I was enforcing. Now and the administration or immigration has never gone back to what it was when it was under Obama, which is not a perfect system, but at least there was some prosecutorial discretion in the matter, right? We were going after convicted felons, not families. And to have that exercise of discretion for trial attorneys, for immigration judges to make right decisions was important. That has all been eroded. And now people are getting fired and losing their jobs, like immigration judges, because they're not ruling the way that this administration wants them to rule.
How do you evaluate what is motivating this administration right now in the way that it is pursuing some of these deportations and even, this prisoner swap, this U.S.-Venezuelan prisoner swap that frees Americans from migrants in El Salvador? I mean, on one hand, we were told the administration has no say over who comes and goes into CICAT, the prison, the notorious prison in El Salvador. Now they're swapping prisoners with Venezuela and El Salvador in these countries. And it's hard to kind of wrap our head around it in terms of what's motivating it. And so you were on the inside of it. You may not necessarily know at that level, but how do you assess what the motivating factor is for this administration?
And that's something that I've really struggled with, because I never wanted to say, oh, it's racially motivated, right? But when you look at these decisions, enforcement has moved from the border now to the interior. They have taken away status, temporary protected status from certain individuals, even juveniles that have been protected under special immigrant juvenile protections. They are no longer being extended deferred action. So when you start looking at those decisions and now taking away legal status from people, and you look at clips from Homan being on the news stating that, yes, you can go to Home Depot. Yes, you can target people by speaking a different language, by speaking with an accent. It's very difficult not to say that these decisions are racially motivated.
Can I ask you what happens to people, or maybe what happened to you, being on the inside of a system like this, seeing something that does not feel like justice, and knowing that you've played a part in it, you've been in there, that was your workplace. Does it harm you? What does it do to people when they do come out, when they quit, or when they're pushed out of a place like this?
I think it's a moral conflict, a battle within yourself, because you are told on the one hand, we all take oaths, right? Like when we step into that job, we're taking an oath to protect the Constitution and to follow the rule of law. And then when you get into that space and you're looking at these decisions that are being made and the way that they're being made, people are being harmed, people are dying in ICE detention, in custody. And you have this conflict with yourself. If these laws cannot be right, and I don't want to enforce it anymore. And so it was a struggle to separate from that identity. I'm no longer Veronica, the Assistant Chief Counsel, and I wanted to leave and create something that would help the people that are going through that system by the things that I saw, the gaps that I saw, because change is not coming from the inside. Change is coming from pressure on the outside.
I don't want to make it sound like a general statement, but those that are currently serving in the positions that you once occupied, what does that say about them today, these people that are going along with, you know, arguably very abusive tactics, very inhumane tactics in our immigration system? I mean, you know, I'm sure you still know people on the inside. Are there people on the inside who are still conflicted? And why are we not seeing kind of large mass resignations in protest?
Right, and that's an interesting fact. I have been contacted by people on the inside stating, how did you leave? What process did that take? Because there are a lot of people that are unhappy. Morale is very low, even at the time that I left. When I left, people were, number one, surprised, because when you join the government, people believe that there's this trajectory to it. And so when you leave not to be in the government, to do something totally different, it does catch people off guard. So I think people are going through that struggle. And what I would say to people in that position is that your voice has so much power. You don't have to do things that you feel are unjust or wrong. Believe in yourself, step out of that, and stand up for what you believe in. I think America as a whole is going through this moral conflict right now. And so it's going to take all of us, the whole community, to really stand up for what we believe in.
We had a woman on yesterday, Laura Mukherjee, who represents and works with a family, or a number of people, but representing a young child with cancer who just got out of a detention center in Texas, and who she described as now living day to day, even though they're finally out and with their family, in trauma, unable to sort of forget what just happened and the fear of being detained again. For people who are hearing these stories and who are feeling helpless right now, do you know what people can do to reach out to offer support, pro bono legal help to children, adults, families who are actively going through all of this right now?
I think that there are a lot of organizations that do help, and looking to see, the ACLU is a big one, and they're really at the forefront of challenging these laws so that people, like, for example, special immigrant juveniles, the children do need protection, and they're challenging those types of decisions to not take away deferred action. So donate to where you can donate. I always suggest go to an immigration court hearing and see for yourself, because I feel like another thing is that a lot of people don't know what the truth is, right?
And that they're allowed to observe these proceedings.
Right, and that they're allowed to observe these proceedings, because you hear the truth from, or you hear a narrative from the administration, how they're after violent criminals, they're not targeting Latinos. But then when you look at the statistics, when you're sitting in immigration court, the truth is very different.
Veronica, we really appreciate you sharing your story and your insights with us, and I applaud you for your courage in speaking out. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep.